How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my breakfast with Morgan. Uh, I don't know what I called it yesterday. Oh, I think I called it breakfast and bullets, or bullets and breakfast, or something like that. Because I was getting ready to go to the shooting range. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic. I have not told my wife what this topic is, so we'll get her reaction from it. The title for this is, I think it's called. God, I can't remember what I wrote. It's like balancing relationships and duty, and it's how having a strong sexual chemistry at home. Hear me out.
I'm listening.
How having a strong sexual chemistry at home reduces use of force incidents in law enforcement. Because I have a theory. I have a theory that a lot of there's a lot of historical issues why police officers act the way that they do, right?
Right.
But we're just going to focus on this one issue. I got a cat over there in the litter box making a ton of noise. Hey, calm that down. So anyway, I have a theory.
Pete.
Stop making so much noise in there. I have a theory that a lot of guys, because I know a lot of police officers, I know a lot of retired police officers. I work with a lot of retired police officers. And I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and he was talking about how he hadn't had sex with his wife in 6 months. And you know, and I know that we know somebody else who went through a very similar situation. These are guys who are like middle age, right? Mm-hmm. And then you also know that I work with people who constantly tell me about, their sexual frustrations at home and like issues
Right.
with their spouse and stuff. So I just want to kind of get your take on what you see on the female side, because you have friends and people that you associate with where you have these conversations, and like what they experience in their relationships with their partner is 180 degrees from what you and I experience together. Like we have a very strong sexual chemistry. We have a very good. What are you laughing about?
No.
You are laughing.
I'm not
You're
laughing.
literally laughing right now.
I'm not laughing. It's fine. So what's the question? Because I'm confused, and sorry for everybody listening. You started off by saying how this is related to workforce, which is how you're going to tie it in. So where am I chiming in? Like, I know women, and I know women who are married to cops or ex-police or anything. So am I trying to tie this into specifically them, or what is it specifically you're asking me?
Why is it that people in today's day and age, specifically people who are married or in a relationship, why are they not having a positive sex life? Because I think that bleeds into why people are so angry and so aggressive and amped up, and that shit materializes on the street with people that have nothing to do with it. They pull some guy over for a fucking traffic stop, and the guy tells him like, I know my rights, and next thing you know, there's a shooting. I think you can draw a direct line from.
Well, I think you can from the officer standpoint and from the shooter who's not
I'm saying on both sides of it. No, I'm just saying like that seems to be a prevalent issue, and you talk to people all the time, and you're like, why don't you do this with your husband? Why don't you do that with your husband? And like, what are women telling you? What's the streets saying?
Well, God, what a loaded question.
Just answer my question.
I think, honestly, there's not a healthy balance. It's like you don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? So
let me just say, comes first in this conversation is wild, but go ahead.
I know. I'm just saying, like, women, you can't walk in. Now, I'm not saying you specifically. Men can't walk in and just like whip their dick out, and women are like, woohoo, I want to jump all over it, right? Like, it's a mental stimulation for women, generally. Mental or emotional stimulation for women. So, who knows what it is? I mean, I know in general, okay. I see the fight that doesn't happen to keep that aspect going. And then the women go, well, my husband doesn't want to hold my hand, or he doesn't cuddle me, he doesn't do this, right? Like, he's not doing the things that she wants done. And therefore, she's, like, not feeling like she's ready to just, take her clothes off and jump him when he gets home.
Well, let me ask you this, because, like, here's what's crazy, right? So, like, I hear police officers or former police officers who are like, my relationship with my wife has kind of stalled out. Like we don't have sex, we don't have like conversation. It's not in a positive place. But then like they are intimate and showing affection to the girl that works behind the checkout counter. Like they can be affectionate and they can be emotionally there for the nurse that they're screwing on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with the female. Like women will be like, my man doesn't pay attention to me, my man doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. But like they are so willing to have these like extramarital relationship affairs with people that don't care for them. I've always found it interesting that like, let's just stick with the cop, right?
Okay.
So the cop, he works 70 hours a week. He puts his life on the line, literally puts his life on the line every day, right? He comes home, he's tired, he's worn out. He's seen like car wrecks and like kids being molested. He's seen like all kinds of crazy stuff. And he comes home and his wife doesn't want to be nurturing and doesn't want to, satisfy him and give him that release. I'm not trying to be graphic or anything, right?
No. Yep.
But and then like her reasoning for that is that he doesn't do X, Y, and Z. He doesn't hold my hand. He doesn't cuddle me. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He doesn't meet me where I need him to meet me, right?
Right.
But he's providing all of these other like necessities. But then that same woman will go right out and she'll sleep with some like bartender when she goes out with her friends in the bathroom of a bar.
Right.
He's not providing anything. He's not putting his life on the line for her. He's not
Right.
providing her with a house, but like she'll sleep with that guy
Right.
on a one night stand in a dirty bar, but she won't be able to like find that way to reconcile with her husband and like have that relationship with her husband that could put into him and make him be better in the way that she wants him to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I see that on both sides. It's like, why is it so easy for either of those two people to go out of the relationship and find that small ounce of pleasure as opposed to like providing that for each other?
Because people don't want to talk to each other. Everybody comes at it, my opinion, and from all the shit that I see and people I talk to, nobody wants to self-reflect. You and I have had points in our relationship, and I would say in the first 2 years, maybe 3 years that we were together, which were the best, but also I think the roughest. Like I feel like we have only gotten better with time. So
I would agree.
I think the first 2 to 3 years were, and we've never had a bad relationship or huge bumps in the road, right? Like truly. But that would be like the roughest because we're getting to know each other and setting boundaries and talking about all the things that come up when you're first with someone. But people stop talking and stop communicating. And it is so much easier to, like, someone else has an unbiased opinion, right? Like that stranger, that bartender that she's fucking, like, unbiased opinion. He's pretty much like, hey, yeah, like, I'll put my dick in you and go on your way. Sorry, don't know if I'm allowed to use crass language on here, but
We'll keep it real.
you know what I'm saying? And same with the girl flirting. Like, men want their ego stroked. And so when women and it's so much easier for women to go out and get laid. Whether you are married, unmarried, it doesn't matter. Whatever you look like does not matter. Women can get laid damn near at the drop of a hat if they so choose. Men can't. Therefore, of course, that 16-year-old stroking his ego, or 18-year-old, I'm just saying, who knows? Stroking his ego.
Why would you say a 16-year-old?
Well, there's probably 16.
No, stop. Oh my God. Scratch.
Okay.
I
18,
did not.
18.
Oh my God. I cannot believe you just said that.
21-year-old.
Thank you.
Well, you got to call it what it is. Y'all ain't out here looking at no 4.
Don't say y'all. I'm not. No, I'm not involved in that. Wait. Hang on. I just proposed the question. Don't put me in that. I cannot believe you just said that. That is crazy.
Y'all
that is wild.
Not you. Y'all is not you.
Oh my God.
Although that who protests a lot.
Oh my God.
Oh, they're going to have to get to know me. Anyways, the person who is stroking the guy's ego, whether he is on the job or, it doesn't matter, like out and about, is a huge morale boost generally for most men. especially if the woman is attractive in some way. So I think it's so much easier for people to step out in that way because it's an unbiased person, someone they don't know, no strings attached, you know. And people just stop working.
Do you think that do you find that your friends, your female friends, do they have a hard time just being open with their partner about what they want and what they need and like how they want things to be? Like, I told you very early on in our relationship, I was like, this is what I'm looking for. These are my boundaries. But then also, like, if you ever need anything or if you ever feel that like something is lacking, I want you to tell me.
Right.
Do you feel like most people, like most of their husbands or boyfriends, come at it from that perspective of like being open and honest from the very beginning?
No. No, I don't think people say that. I think this is a two-part thing. It's people, whether it's men or women or whoever, but both parties in the relationship setting boundaries and saying what they want and continuing to strive towards that, right? And for that. Also, it's the other person listening and believing them.
What do you mean by that?
You said to, I could repeat it verbatim, and I don't know if you would necessarily want me to.
You can say it. Go ahead.
What you said to me after you asked me to marry you, literally, you said, if we ever get to a point where you feel like something is missing, we're lacking, be it emotionally or sexually, or there's something you want different, I need you to tell me before you make any decisions so that we can talk about it together. And I looked at you and literally said, okay. And you said, and if that involves someone else, which I took as obviously a third person, third party, right? Whether that, it doesn't matter, however you insinuated it, but I took it as a third person if I was ever. So I looked at you and said, okay, I'm trying to not read between the lines right now. Are you telling me this because you're telling me this, or are you telling me this because you want to bring in a third? And you started laughing and you said, no, I'm telling you this to tell you this. And I said, okay, so I had to make the choice right then to not be self-conscious because no one had ever told me before, hey, if I'm not providing what you need sexually, you need to talk to me about it so that we can see what needs to be done, right? It was hard as a woman to not try to read between lines and go, oh shit, maybe he's telling me he's unsatisfied and he wants to step out. But I asked you, are you telling me this or should I read between the lines? You said, nope, I'm telling you this. And I had to believe that's what you said, right? And that's what you meant and not get in my own head. And so I don't think people believe or put the effort in to believe their partner and be extremely candid that what they say is what they mean. And
the reason why I told you that is because like clearly I had a history of being a serial cheater.
Right.
Right. And I have never before you. Well, hear what I'm going to say. So before you, what I was going to say is I'd never been in a relationship where I was 100% honest, but that's not true really, because after getting out of the relationship with Shelly, I was dating people. And when I was dating people on a surface level, I was very open and very honest with them. But you were the first person where I had a committed relationship where I was like, hey, this is my past. This is what I've been through. This is what I've done. Like laid everything out on the table for you. And the reason why I said that to you was because I saw this movie. Oddly enough, you've seen it. It's called Notes on a Scandal, where the middle-aged lady, she ends up having an affair with one of her students. And when she does this, she tells her husband, he's like, why would you do this? And she was like, oh, you don't do this. You don't do that. You don't look at me. And he goes, you could have come to me and told me that. And when I first saw that movie, I thought the way that I took that was he was saying, you could have come to me and told me you were unhappy. But he was so much older than the husband in that movie, right? And I took it when I watched it at a later date before you and I maybe got together, was that he was saying like, no, you could have come to me and told me that something was lacking. And like, that's a very mature position to be in as a man, to say, I know that like, I'm not going to always be that dude. I might not always like provide, what's needed in any situation. And that's a real conversation. I think that when people come to crossroads in relationships, they don't want to have very difficult, honest conversations.
Oh, 100%.
And so then people get quiet, they go to their corners, and then that's where these like affairs come in, because they can't talk to their person.
They stop talking. You and I don't want to say we talk all the time, but we have, right? in the last year and a half plus, you and I our sex lives have changed, right? I think compared to the first 6 years we were together.
A little bit.
Because a little bit, you know, in a good way, because communication happened and I had to, you know, get over my fear or embarrassment. That's what it is. No matter how much I love you and I know you and you're my best friend, like there's still an embarrassment, right, of being like totally open and honest with someone and going, hey, I would like this, or I want to do this, or blah blah, whatever it is. People stop communicating about those things, and expectations or lines can change.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to get graphic and give an
Well,
example.
let me just say this to bring it all full circle. Like what you and I are doing right now is we're communicating.
Right.
I think that short of this level of honesty and this level of communication and openness, whether it's about sex, whether it's about any aspect of the relationship, I think that that is what I see with the people that I know that work in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that. They don't have that level of communication at home, and I'm making a generalization here. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are clearly not in that mind frame, but
I think.
But let me just say this: they don't have that level of communication at home, so you end up going to work frustrated. You go to work on edge. You go to work unfulfilled. You know, and then that plays out in your interaction with the people that you deal with, which for a lot of time is like the worst aspect of society.
Yeah.
You know, what's crazy is that like when I hear people talk about the need for training, like, oh, you know, we need to put more money into police training. They need more money into training. The police don't need training in tactics. They've got all the tactics in the fucking world. They don't need training on how to shoot people, on how to engage people. What people in positions like that need are life skills. And the things that you and I are talking about, these are life skills that aren't taught. Like my parents never sat down and said like, hey, this is how you have open communication with your wife. I had to go through a divorce and like 8 fucking failed relationships, you know what I mean?
75 little side chicks.
Yeah, 75 side chicks, you know what I mean? But like these are the kinds of things that truly do drive how a person is going to interact and respond to his environment or her environment. And this is the stuff that's not taught. Like, how do you have an open relationship communication wise? How do you have an open communication relationship? How do you talk to your wife about the needs that you have, or if you're meeting her needs? And if you're not meeting her needs, how do you not take that as a bruise to your ego? How do you help her get to where she needs to be so that she can be whole? You know what I mean? Like that's a different way of looking at stuff.
When I ask you, or when I tell you, I probably do this, twice a year, truly, maybe twice a year, where I go, hey, my cup's a little low, I need you to fill it. I need some something, whatever it is at the time, right? And I use that phrase to you, where I'll go, my cup's a little low, and I need some cuddles, and I need some love, or I need this. Like, I tell you what it is that I feel like I'm missing. What, if you can remember, but like, what is your response when I tell you that?
What do you need from me?
Right. And you don't say it quite like that. Generally, you go, oh, okay, and you hug me and go, great, what do you need? And, you know, you're more, I don't want to say graceful, but kind of like graceful, thoughtful, you listen to it, and then you do it. And that is what I think is the hard press. And if I were to flip this for female to male, you know, my old age-old adage is, give him a BJ, right? Like, that'll make him happy. If we're keeping it real, like, and that's what people get so defensive. When I tell you that, and I see that in other relationships, if the woman says, hey, I'm missing this, the men have a tendency to get defensive. I'm working fucking hard, right? I work to keep a roof over the head, to take care of you and the kids, and blah, blah, blah. They're tired. They don't want to put that thought into having to give what their wife needs. That's what I see. And in reverse, when the men are going, shit, I literally only get a BJ once on my birthday and maybe Christmas if I'm lucky, and we only have sex once every 3 months. Like, that is really sad, because for me, it's like, ladies, take one for the team. 5 minutes of your life even once a week will vastly improve your husband's morale. Now, that's just me saying that, but it's like that's what I see. And people just don't want to do that. They don't want to listen because everyone is selfish. Truly, everyone is selfish and people don't act. This is the perfect phrase. Hopefully, everyone listening heeds what I say. They stop acting with intention in their relationship. Everything I do is intentional. You and I do things together intentionally to whether it's spending time together or however it is, it's all intentional and people stop acting with intentions. So just like when I made you breakfast the other day and you said, "Why do you make me breakfast?" Like everything is intentional to keep the fucking wheels greased in this relationship and to keep it going. And people stop doing that.
That's a perfect way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And it all starts with picking the right person from the beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you pick a mate from the girl that you had the affair with, it's probably not going to work. If you pick the mate because you got her pregnant, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to make the conscious decision with whom you're going to build your life around. And for people who are in law enforcement or security, I mean, we're talking about anything. You can do any type of job. But more importantly, for people that carry a gun for a living, it is so important that your home life be a place of refuge, that it be a place where you feel comfortable and confident.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable and confident in my home or my neighborhood because we live in the fucking jungle of Portland. But in your arms and in your embrace, I feel at home.
Right.
Right? And so I think that it's a topic that needs to be addressed in law enforcement, that if officers don't have that, that is a danger to society.
I think it's more important in the jobs you're talking about because of what your job is, right? And I'm not saying it's not to discount anyone else who does anything, but if you take your unhappy life, unhappiness, pent up frustrations to work with you, and you're working with obviously something in law enforcement, you're working with people who are generally breaking the law every day, it's easy for those feelings to manifest themselves out through that. And, you know, obviously that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. We also didn't even touch on the fact that people have kids and, you know, that dynamic changes everything 100%, which we don't have to because I don't know how long
we can do that next time. Yeah. Somebody asked what I was eating. I had
sausage and bacon and eggs.
She made me sausage and bacon.
Cheesy
eggs and toast.
Yeah.
And a cup of coffee. May I please have a refill? Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to talk about that. You know, the importance of having a solid relationship and how sexual frustration plays itself out in use of force. I really do think that if I was the king of the world and I could make some changes to the law enforcement training division, that is something that I would talk about. I know it seems odd and it seems awkward, and the fact that as grown adults it seems odd and awkward is part of the problem.
100%.
Because it's a huge aspect of your life. Your sexual satisfaction and your satisfaction in your relationship with your partner, the person, not who you're dating, but the person that you've chosen to live your life with, that is a huge aspect of your happiness. And people that aren't happy don't perform well in these jobs. And these people have jobs that allow them to not only take your freedom from you, but take your life. You know, that's something that should be way more talked about and thought about, and you have to train it, because depending on how you are raised and how your parents, you know, bring you up, you might not even talk about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And like, again, you know, there's so many different roads we could go down here. We haven't even gotten into the younger generation of kids that are coming up, 18, 19, 20, 21, that are becoming police officers, and their ideas and views on relationships and sexuality and sex in general and happiness and what they're entitled to. We haven't even talked about how screwed up that is. And then these are going to be the people over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years that are leading our law enforcement departments. And I mean, that's terrifying. You know, We see officer involved shootings. We see police brutality, and people talk about the racial dynamics that led to that. People talk about the systemic issues that might be at play. No one ever talks about, the police officers' home life, what they're going through, what they're dealing with, their
Right.
satisfaction rate. I bet you could literally draw a straight line from their home life to their number of use of force incidents, their issues of escalating something versus de-escalating something.
Den of Thieves, I know it's Hollywood, is the perfect example.
Yeah, what? So yeah, okay.
Because he,
Uh,
right,
the
the entire task
the Gerard
force,
Butler
the
character,
Gerard
right?
Butler character, which I feel like it is a play on actual society of being very, he does his job, right? But he's a detective. He's not even like super undercover. He's not even undercover in the movie. They're a task force, right? Like for what they do, strippers, women they're sleeping with, and then he goes home smelling like cheap perfume, and his wife's like, yeah, fuck this, and takes the girls and leaves, and then he's fucking bitter and angry and riding that case with all of this, vengeance. And I know it's a movie, but it's like, that shit manifests itself in real life as
100%.
well. And, again, instead of just going home and whatever, but, yeah, I mean, so those things manifest themselves out big time. And I think people forget that they're partners first. If I wanted a roommate, I would have a roommate. If platonic relationships were what I wanted and what fulfilled me, like, then that is what I would have. So there's a reason why I don't treat you like a room. I try, but I don't treat you like a roommate because I don't want a roommate. I want an actual partner. And the difference between, friendships and relationships is attraction. Attraction literally equals your sex life with that person. So for me, that's where it's important to keep that side of it. I have a million friends. I don't, but I do, So I have enough friends. I don't want to sleep with any of them. I want to sleep with you. And I think people forget that when they're like, oh, I'm tired or I'm this or whatever, and they don't want to provide what their partner needs or ask for themselves from their partner what they need. Like, that's my question. Do you want, a platonic roommate? Do you want a platonic friendship or deep connection like that? Or do you want someone where you have that and you also sleep with that person? Like, you're intimate with that person.
Yeah.
That is what I want, is someone I'm intimate with.
Guys, this is where it's at. These are the kind of conversations that you have to have. These are the kinds of lines of communication that have to be open if you want to have a fulfilling relationship. And a fulfilling relationship, it cures so many issues that you have in life. And we're all gonna have issues in life. You're gonna have unhappiness, you're gonna have problems, you're gonna have stress, you're gonna have depression. If you don't have that person that's your support system to prop you up, it's hard getting through this life. And you only make it harder if you're dealing with those kind of problems. You don't have that kind of support system and you're out there interacting with people in potentially violent situations. So this is something I wanna dive into and talk about even more. I just have to find a way to do it, but it needs to be something that's addressed in the law enforcement community.
100%. Maybe we can do a spin-off. I mean, you are a security guard and you do work in this, but we can do a spin-off podcast.
We should.
Because I don't know if your podcast listeners know, but we have a lot of good dialogue when it comes to all this stuff.
We have great
topics,
dialogue, yeah.
Every topic under the sun.
That's why I'm bringing you on. Like, I can come on here and talk about
I'll show my
firearms and
face
shit,
one day, but we literally could. And when we talk to other people, I just want to say this: other people go like, "How do you guys deal with X, Y, and Z or something like that?" Like we have. I think there's a lot of really great insight and things that we talk about, we've been through, we've dealt with, and our experiences before each other.
Yeah.
And how that plays into how we treat each other now and how we treat each other today.
Yeah.
So I think we should do it.
Yeah, we will. All right. Let me see here. A couple comments.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Well, hey.
Any good comments, or are people just obviously asking what you have for breakfast?
Let's see here. Somebody said, oh, there's one that was restricted. I wonder what it says.
Probably nothing nice.
Yeah, it probably wasn't anything nice, right? It says you're yelling at your cat. That's like yelling at a woman. It doesn't work.
You don't know our cats, bro.
Yeah, we got some crazy ass cats. Someone said, I say this, a strong home life equals a strong work life. No support at home hurts in the field. I agree. That was Deputy Chief FEM 557. And then someone says, well, I'm not going to read that. And then someone asked what I was eating. And I said, you know, the food and all that stuff or whatever. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and log off. And thanks for joining us for this morning's Breakfast and Bullets. All right. Y'all take care.